Good morning, everyone. Wow, we are really moving along, aren't we? We're getting so close to Easter. So, today's topic is the yeast of your thoughts. And I thought this was very appropriate given the passage I opened up to. I just on the internet looked to open a random passage. And so, anyway, I opened up to chapter 8 of Mark's Gospel. And in it, it starts out with Jesus feeding the 4,000. And we're very familiar with that passage. They had nothing to eat. They gathered up a little bread. They ended up feeding everybody. They gathered a little fish. There was plenty left over. So it was a powerful testimony and miracle. And then they got into a boat and they went across to another region in the area. At the end of that passage, the Pharisees ask Jesus for a sign, and Jesus knows their motive. He knows that they aren't really interested in a sign that can satisfy their hearts. They were just trying to figure out some way to prove that he wasn't who people were saying that he was. So it wasn't a passage when he speaks about Jesus says that people are wanting signs and there will be no signs given them. He's not putting down signs. He's putting down the motive for the sign. He's pointing out that it's a limited motive. Here he did this huge miracle that really should be a sign. And now he's being put to a test. So Jesus, as he is true to himself, which we had on Monday, sees right through that. And when they left in the boat, he tells them to beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. And then his own disciples are confused because they think he's really talking about bread because they didn't have any bread with them. So they took it completely on a superficial level. And what Jesus is trying to point to is, if you ask for a sign, let the motive come from deep within your essence. Because then you'll be satisfied. You'll find what you're looking for. But if it's coming from another place, if it's coming from your ideas about things or a way to control or manipulate things or a satisfaction of a self-doubt, then the sign can't do for you what you long for it to do. And with that, then, I wanted to let this morning's meditation go directly in the direction of our thoughts. We're given these brilliant minds, right? It's one of our greatest gifts is the mind that we have, the ability we have with our minds to do so much. And yet, when it comes to contemplative practice and presence, what's one of the main challenges people have? It's their minds. The mind is a little bit like a Pharisee, right? Caught up in systems, in dogmas, caught up in rules, and caught up in its ideas about things. But the mind also has been sold a bill of goods. It's been taught through culture that it has to produce all the solutions, that it is the one that is the means by which we're safe, or we come up with a brilliant idea, or we succeed at something. So the mind has been sold this idea. We've bought into that idea ourselves. And that's what makes it difficult when it comes to presence and the mind quieting itself. And I'm sure if you've ever tried to quiet your mind, you find that you're using the mind to try to quiet the mind. So if you work with me, or if you follow other spiritual teachers, pretty much we're all on the same boat, that the practice of presence is not the quieting of the mind. It is coming into a presence so that the mind quiets of its own accord. You see the difference in the motive there and the positioning? We're not efforting to quiet the mind. We're moving into presence wherein the mind can quiet. But the mind has a yeast to it, doesn't it? It can inflame us. Raise your hand, and I'll raise mine. If your mind has ever taken you on a trip that you didn't want to go on. And sometimes when the trip gets going, it's like a steam engine. And it, using the metaphor going back to bread, the yeast fills the whole bread. It influences everything. The mind colors the way we look at everything. It colors our everyday, every moment experience. So the meditation this morning is a call to you to let yourself, during this time of Lent, renew a healthy relationship with your own mind and make a commitment to help the mind understand that it's serving presence. The mind wants to be of service. It wants to orient us to the true solutions. So the mind is teachable. It's a collection of neural pathways and synapses and other sorts of physical elements and electromagnetic charges. So with that, it can be retrained, that element of it. And that's where the yeast settles in, is into the physicality piece, which creates patterns. So Jesus says, be careful, watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees. And what he says to them when they don't understand, because his disciples say, are you talking about because we don't have any bread? He's like, do you still not understand? Are your hearts hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see and ears but fail to hear? And don't you remember? When we are not intoxicated with the yeast of our thoughts, our hearts are softened to see and hear things as they truly are. And when we do that, our natural response to everything in our lives is compassion, is ease, is a peace that goes beyond all understanding. I believe this is something that you can trust. So today, if you're willing, see if you can play a bit with your relationship with your mind. And if you will, glory in the way the mind helps you, like even in little things like how you put on a sweater. The mind is part of that process. How you open a can of beans, how you watch a video, since most everybody's in their homes right now. Glory in the beauty of the mind, just in its capacity, not in what it produces. And soften that attachment to the yeast that it can fill you with, intoxicate you with. It takes you on this ride that leads to dissipation of presence, that leads to discouragement, anguish, a whole host of emotions that we won't get into here. So for this morning's meditation, we're simply going to observe our minds. I invite you to close your eyes. And as we begin, turn your focus to the area of your brain. Your mind is more than your brain, but we'll focus on that part of your body. And offer a silent gratitude for all the ways the brain serves you, and for just the glory of what the brain is capable of doing. Your brain, the thinking, the processing, the moving into action. And now see if you can simply sit and watch your thoughts. Watch what your thoughts do, where they go. Observe them. No judgment. Keep with it. It can be challenging to watch our thoughts instead of be our thoughts. So return again to watch the thoughts. And now, as we begin to end this meditation, see if you can orient your thoughts. Think three good thoughts, thoughts that make your heart smile. My three thoughts are: I am alive. I am sitting cross legged. I have a smile on my face. If you will, open your eyes and see if today you can rejoice in simple thoughts like that. So if the mind starts intoxicating you with a yeast of dissipation, let yourself not try to change, but simply think a happy thought. Observe, oh, that light is really lovely. Observe the yeast. Oh, the sun is rising outside my window. Little observations that let the mind breathe in inspiration. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.